Yes, guys, and welcome back to the Irish Hotspur with your boy Big Dave, bringing you your predicted lineup ahead of tomorrow's 8:15 p.m. kickoff as Tottenham host bitter rivals and familiar foes in West Ham. And oh boy, I cannot wait for this one. I cannot wait to give them Barney enthusiasts a good old-fashioned beasting on our turf. Of course, we come into this one on a high after collecting a point at the Etihad in the Battle of David versus Goliath. And as always, David always wins, and hopefully we get another victory tomorrow night against West Ham. But also, that point at the Etihad means absolutely nothing if we do not beat West Ham tomorrow night. So I do hope that the boys can go out there and back it up. But let's get into it. Let's give you your lineup. Going into tomorrow's game, I think Postecoglou is going to pick to bring home all 3 points for us fans. So let's get straight into it. And of course, no change in goal. We start with Big Vic Venom Vicario. Guy, that comes up with big moments in big games. I've no doubt we're going to need a few from him from set pieces tomorrow night with West Ham. I think they're definitely going to look to capitalize on set pieces. David Moyes, and credit to him, he does a really good job with West Ham profiting from set pieces. So for me, we're going to need him to come out and maybe try and claim a few to help our backline, as we know we are so susceptible to set pieces. But also, I would argue, back with Romero back in front of him now, hopefully he can get back to keeping some clean sheets on a regular basis, which is always a good helping hand to getting 3 points. Now, moving on to left back, and it is the one and only, the big dog, Destiny Udogie. Absolutely delighted to have him back. Absolutely brilliant last week against Man City. Picked up an early yellow card in the first half, but walked the tightrope for the rest of the game. And, controlled himself, didn't get sent off, which shows great maturity on the shoulders of such a young guy. But I will warn, he is 1 yellow card away from picking up another suspension. So we do have to watch out for that. Again, walking a tightrope in this game. And ideally, I would like him to maybe avoid picking up a yellow against West Ham, especially with Newcastle coming on Sunday. Now, moving on to right back, and we will stick with the one and only Pedro Porro, who famously told, what's his name? What's that shit house? I actually like him, Tim Sherwood, that he runs the prison. And my God, he's been running that prison ever since the criticism. For me, big challenge at the weekend against Doku, absolutely pocketed him that bad that he ended up actually getting taken off. So that's always a huge plus. And I would actually argue right now, one of the best right backs in the Premier League. He can do absolutely everything. He can defend. He can go forward. He's a goal threat. He's a great passer of the ball. Very good crosser of the ball. Let me know your comments on that below in the comment section. Of course, it's been absolutely great answering some of my questions that I posed to you. So please let me know your thoughts. Is Porro one of the best right backs in the Premier League? Now, moving on to the centre back, we'll start with the left side. Now, big toss-up. Will it be Emerson? Will it be Davies? But I do think Ange Postecoglou will go with Ben Davies. But what I will say is position is under threat. Postecoglou did allude today in his pre-match press conference that Dorrington could be in line for a start within the next couple of weeks with the fixtures coming in thick and fast. Now, potentially that could be if Udogie picks up a yellow card and is suspended for Newcastle. Davies will probably move out there with maybe Dorrington coming in on the left-hand side as he plays there for the under-21s. But what I will say is Davies' position is under real threat right now because he of course, cost us another goal at the weekend last week, the second goal against Man City. That's now 4 goals that he's directly cost us in 3 games, and it's just simply not good enough. So for me, hopefully, with the increasing pressure on his position, hopefully it leads to much better performance. One thing I will give him, which is a rarity, he was actually very good on the ball last week against Man City, and I think that's why he keeps his place. He was much better on the ball than Emerson, and if he can bring that, it helps to our game. So look, hopefully Ben Davies has a good performance, and hopefully with the pressure building on him, that hopefully he doesn't make many more mistakes. Now moving on to right-sided centre back, and Rom Bomb is back, baby. Oh, this one brings an absolute tear to my eye. With Romero's absence, we've conceded 11 goals. So, despite what people think of him, despite all the criticisms around him about him being rash and bash and all this, which I absolutely love, by the way, and I think we will need against West Ham, don't get me wrong, not to the point he gets sent off, of course. But it does go to show how important he is to our team, and we are a better team with him in it. Also, I'd also argue that, progressing the ball hasn't been done as fluid or as consistent as I would like with Emerson and Davies there. Bringing Romero back will definitely add to it in that department and hopefully help us gain a lot more control in these games. Because as we've seen the last few weeks, team have put pressure on the back line, forced us to passing it into mistakes and got joy out of it. So what I would say, Romero makes us a better team, and that's the end of the discussion, end of the argument when it comes to Romero. Now, moving on to the CDM in this formation. And I am going to stick with Yves Bissouma. I think Postecoglou will stick with him. Postecoglou, at the start of the season, spoke about how important he is and spoke to Bissouma about how important he is in this system. But with Bissouma, I do think his form has absolutely dramatically fallen off a cliff compared to where he was at the start of the season and how he was playing at the start of the season. And that fought for the third goal last week and could have easily cost us that game. But I'd also make the argument, without that mistake, we could have very easily went on to win the game. And for me, I think Bissouma owes us fans an absolute massive performance against West Ham tomorrow night. And I want to see him put in an absolute masterclass. If he doesn't, I would make the argument that I would maybe potentially drop him if he doesn't put in a good performance and just sort of remind him of the standards that we expect at Tottenham Hotspur and performances that we expect at Tottenham Hotspur and the consistency of it. So I do expect an absolute massive game from Yves Bissouma to rectify his mistake last week. Now, moving on to the right-sided of the tree in midfield. I know a lot of people would probably want to continue with Dejan Kulusevski. However, I do think Postecoglou might go with Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. And the reason why I say that, he was absolutely changed the game when he came off the bench at the Etihad last week. Massive reason why we got the 3 points. When he came on, he helped us gain control of that ball, but also helped us progress it from the back line to the forward line and gave us just that bit more stability and experience in the centre of midfield and helped us compete in that department. Is a massive reason why we went on to dominate that second half and take a point away when no one expected it. And for me, I think that deserves to be rewarded. How many times have you guys heard me speak about players coming off the bench and making an impact? And when they do it, I feel like they do deserve to be rewarded. So I am going to put Pierre-Emile Højbjerg back into the starting lineup, and he knows exactly what a game against West Ham means to us fans. So I'm excited to see him back in there tomorrow night. Now, moving on to the man of the moment, and that is Giovanni Lo Celso, who completes our midfield tree. Now, just bear with me 1 minute. My voice is going a bit hoarse, so I do need a sip of water. Now, sorry, your boy is back in full action. Look, when it comes to Giovanni Lo Celso, he's on absolute fire at the minute. 2 goals in his last 2 games. And he's answering the questions that I have of him, which is what I always want from players. And I would say another goal against West Ham tomorrow night would probably get the pen in my hand to sign that apology form and go a long way to repairing the damage that he has done with Spurs fans over the last 4 years. So hopefully a massive game from him tomorrow night. Now we will move on to the left wing and we will go with Brennan Johnson. Of course, Gil, not a great performance last week. Of course, tough up against Kyle Walker. However, Brennan Johnson, one thing I loved is that equaliser, used that burst of pace that is a huge asset to him to gain that half a yard on Kyle Walker, which Gil could not do, and swung in that beautiful cross towards the back post for Dejan Kulusevski. And I want to see a lot more of this from Brennan Johnson. There is a player in there, and I want to see more of it in that attacking third. What I will also say is, and I haven't seen him got a lot of praise for it anywhere, was the job he done on either flank. First half, he was on the right-hand side, tracking back and doubling up with Pedro Porro at every opportunity when Doku got the ball. And on the left-hand side, he equally done it with Udogie. And for me, absolutely phenomenal work rate from the kid, whose work rate has been questioned in recent weeks. So more of the same from Brennan Johnson. Now, moving on to right wing. Just give me 1 second. Moving on to right wing, and we will bring in the one and only Dejan Kulusevski. Absolutely delighted for him to get his equaliser against City. He's been a guy that maybe, he's been under pressure in terms of his output, his end product of recent. But one thing he always is a willing runner for this team. And I think everyone can see that. But what I love most is when that ball is floated in from Brennan Johnson, it literally comes down to who wants it more. And Dejan Kulusevski wanted it way more than Ake. And that showed absolute powerful header from him. But I do want to see more of this because for such a big guy, I do think there's a lot more opportunities for them balls to be floated across. And we all know that Sonny, look, isn't the biggest of guys in there. But why can't we be floating them crosses towards the back post to Kulusevski? With the height of him and the size of him, he's already naturally going to have a height and power advantage over most fullbacks in the league. So I do think if he can get himself into more of them positions, he'd easily pick him up south 5 easy goals every single season by doing that. So I want to see a lot more of that from Kulusevski. And I would love to see him bag another one against West Ham. And then that brings us on to the guy up front who I thought was absolutely sensational last week and very, very selfless, I thought, as well. A guy that's always leading the line, triggers that press. When he goes, everyone else tends to go, and he's absolutely relentless with it. But also, on the flip side, when we're in possession, he's always making runs to try and receive the ball and give people an option. And if it doesn't come, you see most players, throwing their hands up or slow to get back on. Son's immediately back on side looking for the next one. And boy, did he deserve his annual goal against Man City at the weekend. What I would say is, as club captain, I've seen a recurring theme over the last 4 games that when we've taken the lead, we've automatically ended up losing it and shipping 2 goals fairly soon after. For me, I do think in them moments, Son needs to be a bit more vocal and get around boys and maybe wake them up a little. But apart from that, he's got 8 goals in his career against West Ham in the Premier League. And I back him to get another couple tomorrow night against West Ham. I'm going to put Sonny in for the brace. But that is my predicted lineup. Let me know yours in the comment section below. I want to say a massive thank you to all you guys out there. The comments underneath lately and all the likes have been absolutely sensational. So long may they continue. Please keep answering my questions. And also one more question, like I said, with Bissouma. What do you think has led to Bissouma's decline in form? And how do we get him back to the Bissouma that we had at the start of the season? But guys, like I said at the start of the show, it means absolutely nothing that point at the weekend if we do not beat West Ham. Even a draw, I think, would massively deflate me. I was hoping that that game at City would be an absolute massive turning point for us this season, and we have to back it up. We're only 6 points off top or 7 points off top, something like that. Couple of wins could easily put us back within the Champions League places, and who knows, fighting for a Premier League title. But guys, that's it from me. As always, get your comments in below. Smash that like button. Come on, you Spurs. In the mighty Ange Postecoglou, we trust. We never stop. Let's go.